Good evening. I wanted to take a couple minutes this evening and talk about a couple things that have come up through email that I want to address to the whole class. But before I start that, I do want to say that I've been very pleased overall with the responses that I've seen, the postings that have come through the first module and all the different types of questions that I've tried to ask. So, we have people in this particular class, everything from a paraeducator to a school therapist to social workers, Spanish teachers, health teachers, people involved in Head Start, a pupil personnel worker besides myself. I can't think of others off the top of my head, but the point is there's an array of backgrounds, years of experience, whether in teaching or in specific fields of work, whether it's social worker or counselor or mentor teacher. And so that by itself should lead to some really good conversations and discussions as we kind of move through each module. So keep up the good work in those conversations. That I do read every single post. I can't respond to every single post, but believe me, I do read them. And so I want to now kind of cover a couple things that have come up through questions that I've gotten from other students. So let's address topic number 1, learning logs. Learning logs, there should be 2 a module, somewhere in the beginning to the middle and then toward the end. They should be 150 words minimum. And I do that so that there's I apologize for the coughing, but I've been sick and I just can't seem to kick this cough, but I'm going to get through it. The 150 word minimum is so that there's meaningful reflection, so you're not just giving me some vague statements and rushing through it. I want it to be meaningful, so think about what you want to write. Now, in those learning logs, I want you to talk about things you hope to get out of a module, things you learned during the module, and lastly, talk about suggestions you would give me. This is my first time through this. Give me suggestions on ways to make each module and the overall course better. That's what I care about the most. Being the initial class, you have a lot of say in what the other classes future classes will look like, and so your feedback is meaningful to me, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. So, learning logs, topic number 1. Topic number 2, the paper. When you write your paper, keep a couple things in mind. Number 1, I outline for you I outlined for you sections of the paper, and so you'll have those titled. You'll do a small introduction without a heading of introduction. You'll just do a general introduction, maybe where you, what school and county you observed in, maybe something about the school. Just a general introduction. Then you have those sections. The reference page, when you do references, don't bold the word references. I see that a lot. And also, for me, if you have anything connected to a hyperlink in your references, unhyper the link. Now, in terms of what you reference, you don't need to reference the meeting you attend. You're talking about that process during the paper. You're going to reference anything you reference. That maybe you reference a video that I had up, maybe you reference the standards from 1999 that I posted, or you may reference a web page connected to the school. Anything connected, or something you might have researched based on a topic that came up during the meeting. So you're not referencing the meeting, you're only referencing any connections you made to outside sources, which you probably should use to make it a stronger paper. Also, when you are writing in your paper or any paper, it's important to keep a level of confidentiality. So in those SST meetings, I don't need you to talk about specific students and specific situations. I'm more worried about the process of the meeting and the dynamics that happen and your role within within that process. So I don't need to know about Johnny and being homeless or dysfunction within the home. Those kinds of things. I don't need specific information. So that's the paper. Now remember too, it's 5 to 7 pages. You don't count the title page, you don't count the reference page. It should be Times New Roman, double spaced, the reference are double spaced. It's a standard APA formatting with a running head. All those basic things that I think as graduate students you would know. But if you have a specific question, I'm more than happy to answer it. If you can't on your own find the answer, I'll try to help. So, learning logs, paper. The next, I would mention the discussion boards. Within the discussion boards, for the most part, again, I've been very pleased. I would suggest to you, make sure you read every aspect of the question. For example, in the compare and contrast question related to an agency that you visited, I don't want you to just talk about what that agency does. I want you to talk about the similarities and differences, because I want almost every question to come back to the role of the PPW and how you see it playing itself out. Okay. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about court. Now, some of you are planning already in Module 2 to go to court. Some of you will find that you will not be able to get to a truancy case. Truancy doesn't happen a lot. And so you may find that the only thing you're going to be able to do is go to a DJS, Department of Juvenile Services, juvenile court, and just observe juvenile court for a while. You don't have to stay all day. I would say that you would, you get there in the morning, you stay through their mid-morning break. I want you to get it under, it depends on how fast those cases move. But I want you to have an array of cases that flow through before you get up and leave. Okay, but again, you don't have to stay all day. But if you are able to get to a truancy case, that would be ideal. And then also remember, in some counties, truancy is not operated through the juvenile court. It's operated through district court. And so when I mention go to DJS, juvenile court, that's because it's normally where it's held. But if you're in a county that holds it in district court, you'd be going to district court. Again, the purpose is for you to be able to observe things, make some connections to the role of the PPW, and you making a connection to personal reflection in being in court. So that's court. And how do you make, for the most part, you can walk into juvenile court. Now, sometimes you can call the state's attorney's office and figure out what's on the docket that day. Some days are busier than others. But make connection to either district court or juvenile court and see when things are on the docket and come and plan to spend some time. Most of the time, you could just walk into court unless it's a closed court. But again, you may want to make contact just to be sure. Okay, so learning logs, discussion boards, court, paper. I think I covered it all. And as we kind of end this module and roll into the next, I hope you've learned a lot through the first module. And if you have questions or concerns, you can always email me. I'm always willing to listen. And so as we get ready to end this session, keep these things in mind as we work through this class And again, any feedback you give would be meaningful to me. All right, have a nice evening. Thanks.